Hey guys, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and I've got something really exciting for you here today. This is going to be the first Japanese heavy tank in the game, and you might be thinking, well, it looks quite a lot like this tank, the Tiger 1, and that's because that's effectively what it is. It is heavy tank number 6. This is the Japanese Tiger. Now, the story behind this is that during World War II in 1943, according to the tooltip, a Japanese ambassador attended Herschel's field trials of the Tiger. Obviously impressed by this formidable beast, the ambassador wanted to get the plans to Japan so that they could replicate the vehicle. One of these was going to be sent disassembled on a submarine, but never made it out of France. So what could have been is now a reality in World of Tanks, and taking this vehicle and putting it at tier 6 and making it a premium tank makes it very interesting for you guys, the World of Tanks community. I'm going to quickly run over what's special about this tank and then get stuck straight into some gameplay. Heavy tank number 6 has a huge slab of hit points for a tier 6 vehicle. It's 950. What that means is that in the Japanese Tiger, you are going to be able to take several hits, even from fairly high caliber guns, before you go down. But when you do get into a terrible matchup against tier 8 tanks, and that's right, this vehicle does not get premium matchmaking, your armor and your hit points aren't really going to hold up all that long. When fully equipped, this Titan is going to weigh 57.5 tons, but its engine power isn't as good as the Tiger 1. It's only 650, whereas the Tiger 1 gets a 700 brake horsepower engine, which means this should be slightly slower to accelerate. But thankfully, the top speed and the traverse is exactly the same as the Tier 7 German heavy tank. 40 kilometers an hour and 26 degrees a second traverse speed. Now, pretty much everything about this armor profile on this tank is unchanged compared to the German design. It has 100 millimeters of frontal turret and hull armor, 80 on the side and 80 on the rear. Which means that when you get to fight against Tier 4, Tier 5 and Tier 6 opponents, your armor is actually quite effective. Unlike the armor of the Tiger that can meet Tier 9 opponents, the fact that you take this fairly poor big boxy tank and drop it down an entire tier really amplifies the armor performance on this vehicle. But alas, on the test server, no one was really playing Tier 4 and Tier 5 tanks, and so I was unable to fully test the armor of this vehicle. But if you manage to pick yourself up one of these, then you should be able to have a lot of fun in a very nice matchup. Now onto the gun, and yes, unsurprisingly, this Tiger gets the L56 88mm. Now that's not as good as the L71 on the Tiger at Tier 7, but it still has a very impressive DPM. The Japanese Tiger has an 8.57 rounds a minute rate of fire, but the alpha damage is dropped down to 220. The accuracy is unremarkable really, 0.38, but the aim time is very nice indeed. 2.3 seconds aim time mean that you don't have to have that gigantic long 2.7 seconds aim time that the Tiger at Tier 7 gets. But there really is one thing that holds this tank back, and that is the penetration at 132mm with the standard rounds and 171 with the APCR rounds. 132mm of penetration is barely enough to get through an enemy Tiger when he's well angled. And even the APCR rounds 171mm of penetration are not going to be competitive against Tier 7 heavies and Tier 8 heavies. When we compare the gun on this tank to, for example, the KV-85's 100mm gun, it really does pale in comparison. Fair enough, your rate of fire is slightly better, but your alpha damage is worse. You've got 38mm less of standard penetration and 39mm less of APCR penetration, which can be very useful for when you have to contest those larger vehicles. The accuracy is identical, meaning that this Japanese Tiger's accuracy is very impressive, but the aim time is nice at 2.3 seconds. But I know that unless I am literally the top dog in a Tier 4, 5 and 6 matchup, I would far rather have the 100mm of the KV-85. If you're a Tiger driver, you'll be very happy to hear that the heavy tank at number 6 has got slightly better turret traverse speed. It is now 20 degrees a second, but that is still rather poor for a relatively low tier tank. And it means that unless you want to also turn the hull of the vehicle, you often can't trace enemies that are moving very quickly, especially at short distances. Thankfully, the vehicle has pretty darn good view range. It's not quite as good as the 380 millimeters of the Tiger 1, but heavy tank number 6 has still got 370 meters view range. And when you combine that with binoculars, you're easily going to get a very decent view range, which should allow you to spot your enemies first if you manage to activate those binoculars and stay stationary. I'm just quickly going to make a passing mention about heavy tank number 6's cupola that you see on top of the vehicle. It is very prominent indeed and easily penetrated. As we can see here, the top of it is 50 and the lower section is 80. And when we look at the Tiger's cupola instead, we can see that the Tiger's cupola has bits of spaced armor that mean that you have to get through 121 off the top. Here it's angled 105. The cupola on the Tiger is just so much stronger. Whereas heavy tank number 6, the cupola is taller, especially at the back. As we can see here, the cupola really dips down, almost like a dustbin lid into the center. Whereas heavy tank number 6 has a very prominent crown that will allow you to easily penetrate it, even if he's hull down. One thing I should quickly mention is that heavy tank number 6 uses 5 crew members. And that's probably why you are going to be buying heavy tank number 6, is because you want to practice and prepare for the Japanese heavy tanks coming in future patches. But I digress. You guys probably all want to see how this vehicle is going to perform in some gameplay. So here we go. We are playing on Kharkov, and this is a very nice matchup for the tank. Well, not exactly the dream. The dream would be that if I was playing against Tier 4 and Tier 5 opponents where my armor would be really strong and the very poor penetration on my standard rounds, 132 millimeters of penetration, would not be that much of a downside. But then again, testing this tank against other heavy tank number 6s should give you guys a good idea of what we can do with the armor of our vehicle and also how likely we are to penetrate each other. I'm going to try and fire only standard rounds here, at least for the start of the game. First round is a bounce. Second round is a miss. Right through the gap there between those two vehicles. Now we have a heavy tank number 6 coming round on the left. Want to pull back, don't want to get shot in the open right now. He comes around the corner. He gave us his side armor there, that 80 millimeters of side armor, but we were unable to go through it. Wow, unable to get through the tracks there, I guess, of the KV-2 as well. That one went through his mid-plate on his hull. Finally, we managed to penetrate something. And that one bounced there. We were aiming for his turret, but we're under a lot of pressure. The enemy are relentlessly advancing towards us. But we can hold on here. One through the side of the enemy, heavy tank number 6. And this M4A3E2 is being very aggressive indeed. He pens his first shot, and I'm angling my armor as much as I can. We don't find a shot there. He's using this dead T-34-85 in front of me for cover. We spot that there's a Tier 6 Japanese Tiger behind me, but we can't focus on him right now. We've got to try and take down the Tier 6 American medium tank in front, while the ELC AMX tries to flank us. We put a good one into him. He drives poorly. Maybe he had a dead driver there, and we finish him off very quickly. Check out that rate of fire on this gun. A beautiful rate of fire. There is the prominent cupola of heavy tank number 6 as we snipe in a shot through the gap in the debris. Now, where was that tank that I left around this corner just a second ago? Oh, there he is. Right through the mid-plate. The armor on the Tiger is so flat that if they don't angle like that, you can easily penetrate the front, even with the 130 millimeters of penetration that this tank has on its standard rounds. Hopefully you can see that this tank is not that slow. The engine power is fairly good, allows you to flank your opponents. And the rate of fire is very healthy indeed. I track the 88 and look for a shot into the side of the heavy tank, but then I decide that I don't want this guy to turn. We have so little penetration that we're unable to get through the tracks and also the hull armor of the vehicle. I decide to load an APCR round, and that doesn't work either. And so I give up on him, decide to shoot heavy tank number 6. Now the 88 is going to become untracked, and I want to make sure that he doesn't turn his tank quick enough while I kill the tier 6 heavy premium tank there. My mobility is good enough to evade the 88, and we can simply turn around and we bounce off his backside. I really need to learn the armor profiles of these low tier tanks a bit more. And of course, everyone knows about that weak point. Goodbye. As we pick up the top gun, and 2,700 damage so far. Can we finish off the last tank? Nope. What a fantastic result for the Japanese tier 6 premium vehicle. So this replay showed you everything that's great about heavy tank number 6. It's got a large slab of hit points that allows it to weather an enemy advance, armor that deters enemies from shooting it in the first place, and when well angled, it can compete with at least up until tier 6 guns. I'd say to get through this thing reliably, you have to start to have about 160 to 170 millimeters of armor if it's angling very well. And this brutal short 88mm gun with a fantastic rate of fire that can quickly rip apart its opponents, especially if it manages to get their flank. Let's just take a very quick look at the post-game stats, because I'm sure that you guys are interested in the credit-making potential of heavy tank number 6. So this was 2,101 experience without a double. We made 63,000 credits gross, and this was our ace tanker in one of the first games I played in the vehicle. And that was for 2,700 damage, 1,401 base experience points for our 6 kills, high caliber, and Top Gun medal. We fired 25 at very short range, so it was unsurprising that 23 of those hit, but only 14 penetrated the enemy tanks because of the poor penetration of this gun. We did manage to bounce a couple of shots there, I believe, from the M4 on the enemy team, and this resulted in a 50,000 credit profit in 4 minutes. Heavy tank number 6 also makes a huge amount of bonus for premium vehicle tier experience. We got 630 in addition to that 2,101 experience. So if you want to train up a Japanese heavy tank crew, or maybe you just want to convert some EXP, then this might be the vehicle for you. I've been saying for years that it would be very interesting to have a Tiger at tier 6. It amplifies the armor of the vehicle so much, and it makes that 88mm on this tank a huge threat to its opponents. Heavy tank number 6 should be a very interesting vehicle for all of you Japanese tank fans out there. I don't really think that the credit multiplier is high enough to warrant buying one of these, unless it's really cheap to be able to make some credits. I think that if you want to make credits, you're best to go for tier 7 and tier 8 premium vehicles. But I guess the main reason why you're going to be purchasing this tank is to train up your Japanese heavy tank crews before they come to the game, probably in the next few patches. And when the Type 2605, the tier 10 Japanese heavy tank, which is bigger than the mouse, comes to the game, I'm sure that you won't regret it. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this preview. If you did, please consider giving this video a like down below. And make sure you subscribe and stay tuned to this channel, because I'm going to be doing previews of the Cannon and Jagdpanzer and the Sperrpanzer SP1C. So those 2 previews you guys get to look forward to. And let me know in the comments down below what you think about the Japanese Tiger. Do you think that it's going to be too powerful when it meets those tier 4 to tier 5 tanks? Or do you think the fact that it doesn't get preferential matchmaking and has to deal with tier 8 heavies with 132mm of penetration is a balancing factor on this vehicle, and you're not going to be picking one up? In other news, World of Warships just went into open beta today, so why not come along on the live stream and check out me, Ixor, and Phil as we try and platoon it up on the high seas in Wargaming's brand new naval warfare game. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.